Hi there, my name is Yan, and today I will be introducing our work on exploring antecedents and consequences of toxicity in online discussions via a quantitative analysis on Reddit comments. So first, about our motivation behind the study. Every day online we see this kind of toxicity or toxic language, but we were interested in whether there are any common antecedents of toxicity. For example, it might originate from the user or the discussion context. And also, we were interested in the consequences of toxicity, namely attracting more replies or recognition from other users. Also, we recognized two different types of toxicity here. So the first is the most traditional, like explicit language toxicity. And the second would be toxicity elicitation, which means it doesn't have to be toxic itself, but it elicits high toxicity in its replies. And this is just a side note of how we name the structure of the comments. So first, we explored related work and formed hypotheses. So first, the literature suggested 4 possible antecedents of language toxicity, namely author propensity, author experience, toxicity in context, and polarity in context. Meanwhile, language toxicity was suggested to influence the volume and user evaluation of discussion. Also, we said we were interested in exploring how this toxicity elicitation differs from explicit language toxicity. So we focused our analysis on Reddit comments from those 5 subreddits, and we quantified the common features using NLP tools. Then we conducted regression analyses to find out, first, what author features or parent comment features would predict target comment toxicity, and then what child comment features would be predicted by target comment toxicity. So we'll very quickly go through the results here. So in study 1, only H1 and H3 were supported, which means that only author propensity and toxicity in context were significant positive antecedents of language toxicity. And only toxicity in context was significant positive antecedent of toxicity elicitation. And in study 2, language toxicity showed a weak positive effect on the volume of discussion. And by weak, I mean the effect is not coherent among all the metrics and the subreddits here. And toxicity elicitation, meanwhile, showed mixed effect on the volume of discussion. And on the evaluation of this discussion, language toxicity also showed a weak positive effect, and so did toxicity elicitation. So we further discuss our results. First, in terms of triggers of toxicity, our study shows with quantitative evidence that author characteristics did matter a lot in triggering toxicity, but controlling for that effect, toxicity in discussion context was an equally important, if not more important, factor in triggering toxicity. And so a design implication that follows would be to interfere with this somehow extrinsic toxicity generation process. And then we explored more into the phenomenon of toxicity elicitation. So we found those 4 styles of comments that seem to be inherently eliciting toxicity. And if you look at the examples shown in our paper, you might agree that it is also important to regulate those comments as well. And then we also found that toxicity seemed to be a very complex phenomenon in terms of it is supposed to be very offensive and kind of draws people away from the discussion, but it was also shown to have positive effect on the volume and user evaluation of discussion. So we show with more concrete examples in our paper that toxicity might actually vary in target, emotion, and intention, and that will lead to different consequences. And thus, it is important to distinguish different types of toxic comments in both detection and regulation. So, of course, our work has been limited in multiple ways, but we look forward to future work to complement our study. Thank you.